the future of gold bullion. Is it something we need to be concerned about, or is it an exciting prospect going forward into the next few decades? Now, some of you may have noticed that I started that with talking about the next few decades. And I think that's very, very true when it comes to gold bullion as an investment. Even considering silver and platinum for that example, I think all three of those commodities are a long-term investment. Now, looking forward to the future, someone who's on a long-term strategy plan, should I be concerned or should I be excited for gold going forward into the next few decades? Well, for me, I think it's a very, very exciting prospect to have as an investment vehicle in your portfolio. Historically, we can look at past data and we know that gold has performed astronomically well. The graph charts and the yields on gold bullion alone have been fantastic, and it's made some really great returns for investors over a long-term hold. But not only that, it's preserved extreme amounts of wealth and it's really hedged against that inflation. Now, my thoughts on this topic is that there are lots of things to come into the economic market and the global world sector as we know it. Currently, we know there's a war between Russia and Ukraine, the first war in Europe since World War II. That's had an astronomical effect on the gold prices. And I think going forward, unfortunately, we could potentially expect more scenarios like this to happen. The world is getting more volatile, and I think that's only going to lead to more effects on gold bullion. In a positive, I might add, because normally when there's economic crisis, gold prices tend to increase because people invest their capital into this commodity because it's a safe haven asset. When all else fails or when there's uncertainty in the market, gold is the backbone of the investment portfolio. So yes, I may be announcing that there could potentially be some negatives in the world global climate going forward in the next 2 decades, but I think that's only going to be a positive for gold. And as sad as that is, you have to look at the positives. And at the end of the day, you need to think about what is going to look after your wealth and yourself the most. And one of those, in my opinion, has to be gold bullion. We could talk about index funds like the S&P 500, the FTSE, the Dow Jones, all of these index funds. They're great long-term investments, but they could be easily affected by the market conditions around the globe. If something was to happen to the United States of America, then potentially the S&P 500 could have a downturn. We did see that in 2022. Could it happen again? We could see that with the FTSE UK Economy Index Fund. Right now, England, the United Kingdom, is in a little bit of a turmoil. There's high inflation, massive interest rates. People aren't specifically happy, those that do live here. So I think there is a bit of a shadow on the UK economy going forward. Again, that only leads a positive to gold. Like I said earlier on, when there's crisis, gold tends to increase, and that's why I love it. When I invest in gold bullion, I don't even feel like I'm spending money. I literally feel like I'm transferring cash out of my bank account per se into an exciting asset that is going to hold that wealth, preserve it against inflation, and also increase that amount of capital over a long period of time. Now, I know a lot of people say, listen, gold is not an asset and it's not gonna make you rich, and I agree with that to a degree. Gold isn't certainly going to make you rich, but I do believe it will keep you rich. Now, having said that, it's hard to deny the fact that, when you look at the average returns on gold year by year, the yields are fantastic. So if you can at the same time preserve, let's use £10,000 or $10,000 as an example, over 10 to 20 years, not only is that value of that money going to stay the same, but if you can make a profit, a yield on that investment of hedging and protecting that wealth, then it's a no-brainer, isn't it? Why would you not want to increase that value of that money while protecting it at the same time? To me, that just sounds like a very wise investment. Now, historically, traders on the stock market and the US economy, London Stock Exchange, will consider a yield of around 10% to be a good return on an investment, ROI, return on investment. Now, I think we can pretty much say that with gold, it's looking like year by year, it's going to be giving us that 10% yield on our investment. Sometimes it might be a little bit less, sometimes it may be a little bit more. But one great thing about the yellow metal is it's extremely consistent. We can look back at the history of gold bullion, and it of course was used as a currency. It was used as fiat to actually buy and sell things. But gold, not only has it been used as a currency, it's been around for 4,000 years. I mean, they say a good way to predict the future is to look at the past, and I really do believe that. Now, having said all of that, there's a few topics about gold that maybe aren't as great. Of course, if you're buying tangible bullion, there is an element of risk to it. You're owning a tangible asset that does have an element of risk. And let's not forget the fact that gold doesn't pay any dividends. When you're owning tangible bullion, it doesn't pay you any interest and it doesn't pay you any dividends. So that's something to bear in mind. But in my honest opinion, I think you can completely sidetrack that, because really you're not going to be putting your money into gold to try and get money. You're not going to try and get rich from putting money into bullion. That's not what it's about. We've talked about this earlier on in the episode. It's about preserving your wealth and hedging against inflation. Now, for me, I do have some concerns around the capital gains tax sector of gold at the moment. It's been twirling around in my mind, and part of that is because the UK government's capital gains tax threshold seems to have been lowering over the last few years. And I think that there is a chance that one day maybe the capital gains tax threshold could be so low that it may even affect 1 gram gold bars, the lowest gold weight you can get hold of for your stack. So for me, I'm really going to try and stop investing in bars. It's difficult because as much as I love them, I think they're a fun, great looking collectible investment. I think that the smart thing is to get Britannia's sovereigns, any gold coin minted by the Royal Mint, which is therefore legal tender, because you're not going to pay those capital gains tax requirements when you go over that threshold. And as we look at the threshold, it is lowering and lowering time by time. So for me, yes, I am buying 1 gram gold bars right now. They're a low, fun, easy wealth building device to add incremental bullion to my stack over time. But I know they're not capital gains tax exempt right now. That's not an issue, but the way we see gold prices going up and up and up, they could easily be a couple of £100, maybe more in 2 decades from now. I think that's not even that ambitious. So something to bear in mind. For me, I'm going to be trying to make sure my serious wealth preservation investments in gold are predominantly capital gains tax exempt pieces like Britannia's, maybe even some sovereigns. It will be good to have some diversity in my stack to really spread that investment across the board of different ranges. I'm going to try and stay away from those more collectible pieces, the limited edition series pieces. For me, that's just not what it's about. I'm not interested in proof coins either. I just want to get weight bullion, predominantly for the best value for my money. Maybe I'll even consider getting something like Valcambi gold coins or something like that in the future, because they're really, really great prices. So yeah, overall, I think the future for gold is very bright. The future for the economy around the globe maybe isn't so bright, but that's why we invest in gold. That's why we use it as a wealth preservation device, because if all else fails, normally gold will prop up your investment portfolio and protect you. And I think that's so important. I often talk about having a war chest, and I think sometimes you could easily say that having gold bullion is like having a war chest. If everything else failed, you could liquidate your precious metals and you would be able to have that fiat cash to be on the move, to be able to buy or sell anything you needed to do. So overall, yeah, I think the future's very bright for gold bullion. Thanks very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. I've really enjoyed filming this one, and I look forward to seeing you all in the very next episode. Thanks for watching. Thanks for your valuable time. Make sure you leave a comment in the comment section below, your thoughts on the future of gold. I'd love to know whether you think it's got a bright future or a not so bright future going forward. But for now, that's been me, Future Investments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the very next episode.